let's start by batch renaming all of our files. So that's pretty easy. I'm going to select all of my images here. Um, you can either drag your mouse to select all of the photos. You can also just type the first one and the last one, hold Shift, and then all of your photos will be selected. If you type Control A on a PC, obviously, it will also select everything that you have there. So let's rename them. And pretty straightforward. Batch is available through the right click on any of these photos, and you will see here the batch menu. So we have batch export, batch develop, edit, super resolution, rename files, resize, convert file format, etc. Um, the other way we can access batch processing is up here. So the same options, and we are going to start with renaming files. So I'll open the rename interface, and you will see to your left different options of how you can batch rename all of your files. And on the right side, you'll see the preview. You see the preview of the current name of your files and the new name of your files after you applied the criteria we're going to select. So I'm just going to make it super easy, and I'm going to type ceramic portraits. And then if I want to have numbers that sort of separate each individual photo, all I have to do is just add hashtag. If I add two hashtags, you will notice that my first couple of photos, my first 9 photos will have a 0 in front of them. If I add another hashtag, they'll have 2 zeros in front of them. All I have to do now is click on rename, and ACDSee will quickly rename all of the files to the criteria I chose. How I would tackle editing, because I'm a fan of develop mode in ACDSee, I would typically just select one of these photos and apply certain adjustments and then go from there. I'll apply everything to all of the other photos. I'll show you how you can save the edits that you're doing and also how to apply other presets that are available in the software. So looking at the photos, I am thinking to myself, I kind of need to crop them. Some of them have a lot of headroom. As you can see, ceramic portraits number 8, there's a lot of headroom. Some of the others don't have so much headroom. So to make sure I don't crop my subject's head off, I will just select the photo where she doesn't have so much headroom, so I know that I have a safe space where I can crop. So now I will select this photo and open it in develop mode. I'll make sure I'll reshare my screen. So here I have a photo that I think would be good to add a little bit of exposure just to brighten things up. I'll probably add a little bit of fill light too to soften the shadows or the contrast. I'm going to bring vibrance up because I want to highlight the colors of the plate. And if I was raising saturation, then I would be also adding color to her skin, but I think I want to do that separately. So I'm just going to increase vibrance. And that's a pretty straightforward edit. We've made things a little bit more bright, a bit more colorful. And as I said, I'm going to apply a little bit of cropping. So in develop mode, I'll change over to geometry. I'll go over here to the crop options, and I'm just going to click the constraint proportions there and unclick it so that I can have access to the grid and I can crop it the way I want to. So assuming that I have other photos that have a lot more headroom, I feel like this is pretty safe here. So it's important to know whenever you're doing portraits, don't leave a lot of headroom because it usually just takes away from the center of attention, which is your subject. Okay, that's good for me. I don't have to do anything else. I don't have to click done or anything. I'll just go back to tune and I'll see my crop being applied. And now I will probably try to add, maybe, let's see if I can do anything to her skin tone. So as you can see, I have open color EQ right here. If I drag orange to the left, you will see that most of her skin tone is orange. And so I'm just going to actually reduce a little bit of orange and probably increase a little bit of red, the brightness in red, so that I can see her lips pop a little bit more. And again, when you're in color EQ, you have different settings for how you want to affect your colors. So right now, I'm just changing the saturation of them. So obviously, if I bring my reds to the maximum, you will see her lips turn really red. And we don't want that because all of this will also affect the plates and everything that's red in the photo. So just a simple color edit right there. And you can change the brightness of the colors. So for example, if I increase the brightness of orange, now all of a sudden her skin is a lot more bright without necessarily having to increase saturation. So that looks really nice. Let's see if I decrease clarity ever so slightly. That will give me a little bit of a more of a soft look. Okay, so there we have it. Pretty straightforward. Edit. Maybe I will continue down here and add a little bit of vignette just to bring the attention onto her even more. And you don't necessarily have to do this, but I like to apply a color LUT to all of the photos I'm working on just so that I can have sort of this even treatment of color to all of the photos. And we don't want to be extreme here because obviously we want to showcase the work on the plates. That's the main focus here. And so if I choose, let's say film, that's really, really strong. But if I reduce its opacity a lot, then I'll just have this slight color LUT affecting my photo. Okay, so that's good for now. And let's say you are finished with how you want the edits to be applied to the rest of your photos. All you have to do now, after you're done, is go up here to this wheel, and it's called the Adjust Develop Settings, and you will see a bunch of options. If you click on Save Preset, the Save Develop Settings preset interface will appear, and here's where you can select specific effects that you want to save on your preset. You can select all of them, which is what I'm going to do now because it makes it a lot easier. I don't have to go one by one, see what I did. And then on the bottom, you can enter a name for your preset. So I'll just name it Ceramic Portraits. And that's done. So I've already saved my preset. I'll click done on my photo. Sweet. Okay, so I'll go ahead and select all of the photos, but the photo that I developed. And again, I'm going to go to batch, batch develop. And here's where I was telling you guys you can see all of the presets that are available. And you can have, it's so much fun because when you apply a specific, like a preset effect to a bunch of your photos, you get to experience your photos in a new way. So you can always have a good time doing that. But for this, I will select Ceramic Portraits, which is the preset that we created and saved in develop mode. Now, because all of these photos are raw and I probably want to show them to the artist, I need to convert them to JPEGs, at least a PNG. So I'm going to select export files to another format. and I'm going to open the options toggle. So now we have a bunch of new options where we can choose how to save our photos, where to save our photos, in what format do we want our photos to be in. I will create a new subfolder for the files. I'll just name it JPEGs. And so this will create a subfolder inside the folder I'm already working on. The names are okay. And here I can select the file format. JPEG works for me, but I will make sure that the JPEGs are to the best quality available. So make sure you go to the settings and increase image quality to 100. Okay. I'm going to leave everything else as is. Click OK. We can also resize our images if you wanted them to be, a little smaller. You can, for example, reduce them by percentage. So I think it's about 3000 pixels, um, their height. So I could simply just like bring that to the half. I think that makes sense because this is just, I don't need the images to be so large. So we'll do resize our images by 50%. And now all you have to do is click OK and click on develop. And now ACDSee is applying. It first applied all of the develop settings to all of the photos, and now it'll start applying the export presets to all of my images. So obviously, if you're working with hundreds of photos, it's a good time to go get a cup of tea, fill up your coffee mug. No, the original photo has not been converted to JPEG. Um, but Kai is right. I actually left one of the photos out, so I'm gonna have to do that. I'll do that one. Actually, I'll show you what we can do next time so that you don't have to kind of like, um, you can again select all of them and not worry about the one that you edited. So now ACDSee is loading the thumbnails. As you can see, the presets have been applied to the raw images, but because develop mode is a non-destructive environment, you can quickly remove all of the adjustments we did to these photos with one click. So ACDSee is now loading the thumbnails of my JPEG, of the raw images, I'm sorry, but here, if I open JPEGs, you'll see that they open up a lot faster because obviously they are um, smaller in size. And now, if you wanted to see them, you can either go to View, Mode, I'll reshare my screen, and now you can easily move and scroll through your images. So a lot better than what they were originally. The nice thing about this is that if I decided, this is not really working, I can always go back to the folder I was previously in. You will see that exactly all of the edits that I did to my previous image have been applied. And I can easily make sure that, so now I've just fixed that issue we've had with the headroom. And there you have it. So very simple way to achieve massive edits on a photo or on a number of photos. And just for the sake of it, I'll show you how to undo everything that we've done, okay? Because we've exported all of our images to JPEGs, right? So the presets have been applied. And as you can see, if I open my photo in develop mode, the JPEG, I can't basically undo the edit that I did before because it's the final file exported and it's done. But what I can do, if I wanted an alternative, let's say, edit of all of these images, then all I have to do is select all of my raw photos or the original files that I've been working with. I'll right click and I'll go to process. So if you go to process, you will see this option, this button here is called restore to original. So if I do that, ACDSee will prompt me, say, are you sure you want to restore the file to the original state? Yeah, go for it. And just like that, and just like that, your photos have been restored to the original setting. But you have, luckily, all of your other JPEGs. So if you wanted to send those photos quickly to the person that you took photos of and you want them to review them, that's a really nice way to apply quick edits to your photos, send them over to your client um, or to the person interested, and that way you'll save a lot of time. David is asking, all of these edits stored in the file itself, and are the changes lost if the image is moved or viewed with another software? So your JPEGs, the edits are stored in the file, and if you open those files anywhere else, you will see the edits that we applied. Um, However, the raw files don't, the edits are not stored in the files themselves, but ACDSee creates a sidecar file which it applies the edits to, which is why I could easily go back and restore all of the edits that I did in all these photos. So I always recommend, if you are batch editing, to create another folder, create a subfolder in the folder you're working on. And that way you will make sure that you will always have the original files and you can go back to their original state, but you'll be able to export different kinds of tests, different kinds of presets to all of your files. So another option, why don't we just choose presets? And I'm going to open my properties pane. I'm going to open my develop settings. Let's see. I'm going to try to see if I can look at the presets on my right side. Develop presets. Here we go. This is what I was telling you guys before, how you can have a lot of fun by doing it, because develop presets, let's see, I can add, I mean, this wouldn't make sense, black and white, fade plus grain, because we want to see the color, but what you can do is choose, let's say this one, color graded for whatever reason, right? It added some grain, which is cool. What about punch? Punch is too much. Select pastel. That's kind of cool. And then, for example, what you can do is just change that again. This has this pretty sweet color overlay on top of it. Anyways, you can adjust whatever preset you select and save it again as a new preset. So that's kind of cool. You can start by choosing one of the presets that develop mode offers you, and you can tweak it and save it as you wish with a new name. Kai Hurt says, I tend to do a save as and then cancel saving my originals. Sure, I get a new folder of JPEGs, but I still have the original. Yeah, save as with one with one S. Okay, so that's one option. What if we go to batch edit? So this is interesting. Let me know if you ever use batch edit instead of batch develop. Or also, let me know if you do use batch develop. Okay, let's take a look at batch edit. So this is the batch edit interface. The cool thing about it is that it's a bit simpler, although it doesn't offer the flexibility of or the dynamic editing that develop mode offers, obviously. But if, let's say, like all of your images are rotated onto one side and you just want it to change, give them a 90 degrees left angle rotation to all of them quickly, you can do that super easily by selecting the rotate operation here in the batch edit options. So obviously no rotation for now. Let's do a little bit of cropping and we'll choose 4/3. And again, as you can see, I don't have the flexibility of adapting my crop so much. So in this case, it would need to be a very straightforward edit or very obvious cropping that you would need to do for it to work. Um, because you can't move it up or down. But we'll leave it at that. Resize. You'll see my photo is almost 4,000 pixels by 5,300. So what I'll do is I'll reduce it by percentage and I'll type 50. So now my image before you'll see it displayed on its size, and on the right you'll see how my photo will look after. So that's super helpful. Probably the best option if you want to resize a bunch of photos is to do it through batch edit. See what happens in color. I can change the temperature, make it a bit warmer if I wanted to. But again, not a lot of flexibility. So we're just going to leave color out of the equation. The channel mixer, you can affect specific colors. Sepia will give you a sepia filter. Exposure, this is where we do want to create some differences, so we'll increase exposure. I'll reduce the gamma ever so slightly. And maybe add a little bit more contrast. You also have a tone curve. If you did want it to create let's say for example like an S curve, which in this case, I don't know if it's working for us too well, but a tone curve will definitely give you more freedom, more flexibility in terms of how you want to affect the light in your photo. And you have other options like light EQ, noise removal. Noise removal is super helpful if you have a bunch of photos that you took at night, for example, and you have to take them with high ISO and they're super grainy. This would be an amazing way to get rid of some of that noise. You can add sharpening, vignetting, text overlay, which can be super helpful. And the last one, a watermark. This is something that I think a lot of you guys do. Super helpful when you want to And even just that, like adding the watermark as a batch edit on all of your photos, even if you edited all of your photos individually, it just makes a big difference. Um, yeah. Okay, so that's it. That's all I'm gonna do for now. Let's see what happens if I click next. Again, ACDC will ask me for my output options, so I can create another subfolder. So I'm just gonna say edited batch. And again, I'll save it to JPEGs, but I'll choose 100% quality. And then you will see how ACDC processes your images. So I raised exposure, I added the watermark, I resized my photos, and now ACDC is applying that same um, edit to all of the photos. It all depends. So Xavier is asking which method is better, method of resizing. It all depends. If you need to be specific, if they're asking you for a specific size, like sometimes at ACDC, when we're updating the website, for example, we need to export our banners in a specific size. So if we're working with a bunch of images that are in different kind of size, or banners that the proportions are the same, but that I need a specific size, then I would choose that. If I'm just looking to reduce file size so that I'm able to share these photos easily and I don't have them to be so big, I'll just do percentage. If anyone has another recommendation of methods of resizing, please leave it in the chat. And so that's it. Batch edit is complete. Your summary is we processed 27 images, all of them worked, and now I'll just click finish and ACDC will open in manage mode all of my edited photos. If you want to stay in manage mode and be able to look at your photos a bit bigger without having to move to view, what you can do is just go to the view menu up here and select film strip. And now you can quickly scroll through your images left to right. You will notice how all of them have the ACDC watermark. And you can, of course, upload any watermark that you want, your logo, your website, etc. It doesn't affect the quality itself. I mean, there's a bunch of factors that are affecting quality. One of them is the format that you're choosing. So if I'm selecting format, a JPEG, I'm losing some of the quality, but the compression is so good in JPEGs anyways. So I'm not losing a bunch of quality. So let's go back to thumbnail view. And again, so now I do have two different folders, two different options where I'm batch editing. But I keep my raw images intact, which is great. Have you guys used the AI? Have you batched used AI super resolution in batch mode? So here I have a bunch of nice photos that could definitely be, as you can see, the size of this photo is, I'm going to select film strip so that we can see everything better. This beautiful photo is only 639 pixels by 479. And it could happen that you find yourself with folders of photos where you wish the resolution was better, where you wish they looked clearer, with less noise, and just generally improved. So with ACDC 2025, and this is available in Home, in Professional, and in Ultimate, we can batch edit AI super resolution, which is absolutely crazy because there's no limit on how you can increase the resolution in files. Um, so you can do 1,000 photos if you wanted to. And I know that other software have limits on how much you can resize and add super resolution to your photo. So you can select classic presets. So I can increase the resolution of all these images by 2, by 3, by 4, and I can do 270. This is some presets that I've created, but what I recommend if you're starting off the first time is just open AI Super Resolution, which will bring up the Super Resolution interface. Here on the left, you'll see the show original photo. And I hope that Zoom is able to showcase the difference. So before we have really grainy photo, you can almost see the pixels, and it just could definitely be improved. After super resolution is being applied, all of everything smooths out, and the size of our photo increased from 600 pixels to 1200. But you can increase them however much you want. So I could increase, for example, to 400% increase, and now the edit is even more obvious. So that's how it looked before. Check all the grain, check all the spots, and that's how it looks after. Everything has been smoothed out, looking amazing. So because we selected batch super resolution, you'll notice here on the top, it says batch AI super resolution. So even though you're only looking at your first photo, if you click enhance, this will be applied to all of your images. Oh, I forgot to mention, we have the AI strength slider here. I like to crank it up to 100. I feel like I have, for this photo specific, it works really well. I think by default, when you open super resolution for the first time, it'll be in 75. Still great, still a big improvement, but we're gonna go ahead and select 100. So I'll click on enhance, and now ACDSee is processing all of my images at once. So depending on the if your computer has a GPU, so a graphic processing unit, the process will go a lot faster. If not, your ACDC will use the CPU in your computer. So a bunch of you, I think, have noticed that super resolution um, works a lot better in some computers compared to others. So there we go. Now we have all of our images upscaled. Tony asks, does the batch AI not overdo some photos, too much sharpening, etc.? Well, if you consider that it does, and it might in some situations, then just reduce the AI strength slider. Also, another, and this is kind of maybe a lot of people have asked this, you don't necessarily have to increase the size of your image. So to show you what I mean, I'm gonna open the Batman photo right here. I'll go to AI features, AI super resolution, and you'll see that it's remembering the settings that I used last, so 400. But if I choose 100, it won't change the size of my image. So this is, and basically what you're using super resolution now is basically a denoiser, sharpening, and overall improving of your photo. And it does look so much better without increasing the size of your image. And if you think it's doing too much, just reduce the AI strength slider. And that can work a lot better. So there we have it. We've now batched AI super resolution, a bunch of images, and this can be extremely, extremely helpful. Let's see. So we've batch developed, we've batched edit, we did AI super resolution, we did rename files, Resize is not available for raw images, I'm afraid. It is available for my JPEGs. So if you go to batch resize, you will see again different ways that you can resize your photos. So you can do it by pixels, do it by percentage, choose a specific print size, through the long edge or through the short edge. You can convert the file formats, you can rotate, flip your images, adjust timestamps, convert ICC profiles, and adjust exposure. Let's try to apply the same things that we did to this group of images that we're taking at the beach. These are also raw files. So if I go to develop, yeah, LJ Larson says, I use the timestamp because camera may not have correct time and sometimes get the direction wrong. That can be helpful if you want to batch, sort of edit your metadata. So I'm gonna open this nice photo and I'm just gonna do some general treatment to it. Obviously, I'll increase the exposure and bring saturation in. I want to give these photos a bit of a film look, and I'll show you how I can do that. So that's just really basic exposure and saturation edits. Contrast, I'll actually reduce contrast a little bit to achieve that more of a film look. And I will add some grain. So grain is here under the effects tab in develop mode. Oh, apologies. I wish that was automatic. I don't know why it doesn't change automatically. Anyways, we're back. I'm going to add a little bit of grain like that, which is probably hard to see through the screen share. And let's take a look at what options I have with my color LUTs. Do you guys use color LUTs a lot? Type 0 if you never use them, type 1 if you sometimes use them, type 2 if you use them all the time. I use them all the time. A lot of zeros, some ones, yeah. I feel like it's such a nice way to add a specific feeling to the photos. Like all of a sudden we went from a cool photo to a really warm photo, which I like. So I'm gonna select that LUT, but I'm gonna bring it down, obviously. And again, we're trying to achieve here a very we're trying to achieve a heavily edited vibe here. So it's okay if we go a little crazy. Okay, that's really good. And now what I'm going to do is save this preset again. And I'll just type something like cinematic warm. I'll select everything just so that I don't have to go one by one. Click OK. And now I've actually, so I'm just gonna add the preset we had, so cinematic warm. That's the edit we did. After saving your preset, what you can do to make batch develop a lot easier, because you've already saved your preset, you can now undo and reset this image to defaults. So now it looks like nothing really happened to it. So batch develop. Misty saying my favorite is making LUTs from my existing photos, saving and using them again. Awesome. Yeah, yeah, because you're starting then you develop your own style and you can add that style to your other photos. So that's a really nice way to kind of like go deeper into your own personal touch when you're editing photos. Okay, so I'll go ahead and select cinematic warm. I'll develop all of my photos. Oh, actually, I didn't do the. Let me just restore to original. So I wanted to save them as a JPEG. You don't necessarily have to do that, obviously, but I feel here we go. Okay, so now they're all saved to the original. Batch, develop, cinematic worm, export files to another format, create a new subfolder. It'll just be JPEGs. Increase my quality to 100, click OK, and run the develop. And there we have it. So you'll notice how the raw images have been applied with the cinematic dreamy look that we tried to achieve with our first photo. You can, of course, as we've seen, undo those changes or edit those changes in specific photos. For example, this one, you can bring it back to develop mode because it definitely looks overexposed, but you don't have to start all over again. Because you have your preset saved, all you have to do is just bring the exposure back down, but you're still applying everything else. So that's before and after. Click done. Tony is asking, I have seen where the recommendation is to export to 90 quality rather than 100. Any idea why? I feel like because we probably can't tell the difference on a conscious level between a 90% quality JPEG compared to 100%. I feel like I just bring it to 100 just to make sure I'm just using the the compression to its full capacity. A 90% quality will give you a smaller file size, a little bit smaller. Obviously, if you choose 50% quality, it'll give you a lot smaller file um, than if you choose 90. But yeah, that's my take on it. So yeah, here are my exported JPEGs. Yeah, JPEG 100% is a perception thing. It's true. So maybe I think this one turned out to be a little bit too orange. I'm just going to bring it back to develop mode. And I'm just going to change it by adjusting the white balance. So I'm bringing my temperature slider to the left to make it a bit more blue since it was too warm compared to my original photo. So I'll click done. And there we go. So I batch edited all of these photos and then I individually created specific edits for each and one of them, but I still saved a lot of time instead of going one by one. Yeah, so John is saying JPEG is a lossy format. You are losing resolution quality. Better to keep as much as possible. That's how I think about it. You're obviously compressing the image quite a lot. And if you're gonna go through with 90%, just you can choose it at 100. But that's interesting. John is sharing, is there much difference between level 90 and 100? The difference between a compression level of 90 and 100 in JPEG images is quite noticeable, particularly when scrutinizing the image quality and file size. So that's crazy. With a compression level of 90, um, the image will be considerably smaller compared to a level of 100. So it all depends. If it's a small size photo that you're gonna use in web, 90 might be a better choice because you're uploading it to a website or you're uploading it to I don't know, um, some site that needs to load images quick, pretty fast. But if you're uploading on Facebook, my recommendation is to always go 100% quality because Facebook is going to add its own compression to the photo. So you want the photo to go into Facebook or any other social media at 100% quality. Well, thank you guys for joining. I think we covered pretty much everything in terms of batch editing. Again, you can go over, you can do batch develop, batch edit. It's up to you, but it's really a nice way to save some time and apply a basic edit to all of your images in a couple of clicks. Okay, guys, I'm glad it was helpful. I'll see you next time.